Well, hello again. This is Thanksgiving week and my time will be limited. I've got baking to do. I got to make pies, I got to make bread, I got to go over for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'll be tied up almost all week. So I get about maybe a day and a half to do some things. You know, I enjoy Thanksgiving and Christmas. Best time of the year. First thing I want to do is try to get this sticker off of here in one piece. This is our heater box. And today we're going to take out this heater core. We're going to get rid of this piece of junk. I put a nice edge on my pocket knife. I wanted to get it nice and sharp. So now we see if we can get it under there and just kind of, well, it's pretty much off already. That's going to help a lot. Ooh, look at there. She just popped right off. How about them apples? Okay, we're going to stick that over here where it's in safe territory. Now I've got this baby here. All I got to do is take out 4 screws. Well, actually 3, because one of them's missing over here. It's incredible how many screws are missing on this. But before this is over, I'm going to have to glue this on. Look how rusty that is. This is a rivet. I may have to remove it completely to get it de-rusted, because there's a cover that goes over here and 2 of the screws go into those things there, but that's just loose as a goose. Can't live with that like that, but that'll come later. Let's see if we can get these screws out. Well, that one's loose. Alright, let's take the other 3. Alright, here goes. How about that? We'll take a closer look at it here in a minute. Boy, that baby was leaking everywhere. Everywhere, look at that. All down on the floorboard of the car. Now notice that there is some caulking here all the way along from the factory, I guess. I don't know. And some around the corner there and around the corner here. And then some on the other side all the way down and around the 2 corners. Yeah. I have some of this. I'll be showing you when we get ready to put it back in. I'll show you that. And one thing more, there is a gasket that goes with this. I got the gasket. I ordered it when I ordered the reproduction heater core. I went ahead and ordered the gasket too, if I can find it. It's out there in a box somewhere. We'll find it. It's just a little thin gasket, nothing to it really. So we'll be putting that on. Now, that being said, if I can't find that gasket, we're going to go with this stuff here, because I got a whole box of it. It's a I don't know, ribbon crap. I can never find a word when I need it anymore. Must be old age. I'll have to check with Buzz on that to find out. He knows all about that ugly old age stuff. Now I do have a question for folks. Why should I do all the work here? It's time for some of you guys to jump up and contribute. This is, there was a piece of foam rubber that was put on this using staples. Where do I get this? It's a very thin piece of foam rubber and it covers that grill. It looks really neat once it's on. And where do you get that stuff at? Now a lot of my, what you're going to see me doing here, I got a lot of help from Sean at Auto Anatomy. He bought a Thunderbird out in Colorado, I believe it was, and he drove it all the way back to the East Coast with his dad. And, you know, he had to rebuild the carburetor before he left, and he fixed the heater before he left. He tore it all out. I watched that video very closely, about 2 or 3 times. So I know exactly what I'm doing here, thanks to Sean. And I do appreciate it. And then, of course, Nick has always been there to help me out, too, from Vintage Thunderbird Repair. This, if I remember a couple of videos back, I think I tested this one. It tested good. I'm going to have to do it again. If so, I want to get this off of here. Pull this little push-on cap off here, and it works the recirculation door, okay? And it feels like it's good. I can hear the, see if we can get down close here. It feels like the diaphragm is flexing, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to buy another one anyway. We're going to get all new ones on this car that I can get, that I can afford. And I may have to take 5 years to buy them, but we'll get them. I'll save up my nickels and dimes. Okay, on the opposite side, well, the first thing I'm going to do is strip off this tape and crap. And then we have some broken pieces right here. 3 broken pieces. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have to glue all these back in after we clean it. There's the 2 and there's the 3. Apparently somebody clamped down on it a little too hard with the screws or something, and the plastic is just brittle anyway. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. We can glue the pieces and parts in, and this here is even cracked. I got that good strong epoxy, metal impregnated epoxy, remember that? We can go ahead and use that for that. But right now, the big chore is to get this baby clean. I'll remove these staples later. Let's give it a good wash with the hose, and then we'll go from there. It's a little too cold outside for me to be running back and forth to the garage, so I set up the towel on the kitchen table here. We're going to do it here. I just don't want to go out in it. It's too cold. It was below 30 degrees. Anyway, I know for some of you that's bathing suit weather, but down here where I live, it's not. It's freezing, okay? Be careful of your heater box. I know some of you could use a little more detail about this thing. This is made out of fiberglass. It's not plastic. It's not Bakelite. It's fiberglass, and it's very brittle. That's why these things right here broke off. I probably did that myself when I took the box out. I didn't realize it at the time, but I realize now. Look how thin that stuff is. It's very, very thin fiberglass. They could have done a better job on that. Anyway, I've cleaned it up. I'm going to go through it a second time. There's still quite a bit of stuff on it. I've got the crud right here. It's got to come out. But you know, I'm not going to make a gigantic big deal about it. Right now I've got a door that is really rusty down on the inside, and I don't like that. I wanted that gone. And this door had a rubber seal around it, like so. I took the seal off, and this rod moved this door whenever you turned it back and forth, and it did it with the use of this Dumaflachi on the back here that I put back on with the screw. This loop fits up in there like so, okay? And then, you know, you just flip it back and forth after you put it through that hole right there. Alright? And the glue that was holding this thing on, they didn't put a whole lot on. They just put a little bit on. I guess this was at the factory. They just put a little bit on here, there, and everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and take off as much as I can. I'm just going to dump this down in the evaporust. Now, as far as this seal goes, you know, this could probably, I'm going to give it a good cleaning also. And it has some rust on the surface. I don't know. Maybe I can put that down in the evaporust too. I don't know if it would ruin the, we're going to put this in the evaporust. I don't know if it would ruin the rubber. I don't think it would. And even if it did, who cares? You know, it's not that big a deal. I could easily make a gasket and put it around both sides, you know, so it made a seal. And, you know, we don't worry about such things. But this thing here, just to kind of give you an idea, this thing here fit down in here like so, okay? And it opens up. It's the outside vent shut-off valve is what I would call it. You know, when it's this way, when it closes off this way, it blocks the air from coming through. But when it opens back up, the air comes out from the outside of the car down through here into the passenger compartment. So that's the way that works. It all works off that mechanical cable I showed you, I think, in the last video. And as far as this repair goes on this baby over here, where the heck is it? Right here. What I'm going to do, you know, again, you know, a lot of these repair actions you see me doing stem from my old radio days, old radio repair days, and probably a couple of radio repairs that I'm going to be doing in the future. But you know, we were always looking for some way to make a repair on a radio because you couldn't get the parts. So there was always a way to make them, come up with a workaround or whatever, and that kind of helped me a lot when it comes to stuff like this, because I've always been able to figure out a way, you know, from past experiences, basically what it was. So what we're going to do is, this is bent. I'm going to straighten it out. It's bent right here. I'm going to straighten it out and try to get as much rust off as I can right there. I want to sand it down and just give me a good surface and get it up flatter this way. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue all these pieces in with the metal impregnated epoxy that I have. Let me get that over here. I'll show it to you. This is great stuff. It's JB Weld steel reinforced epoxy. Great stuff. Comes in 2 tubes. You squeeze them out and mix it together. And once I get all that glued back in, then I'm going to go ahead and put a flat washer right across there for added support. I'll glue the flat washer on top of it. And I'm going to put plenty of epoxy in here, because this is just a mounting spot for the box. There's nothing, it's not holding anything other than the box to the firewall. Well, so far so good. I'm going to let it dry a little bit more and then kind of smooth it down a little bit. This one piece is still missing. I probably dropped it in the grass or something on the way here. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of cement in there and kind of raise it up. I can always sand it down later for when I put the washer on top. You know, this is one of these things, you know, just gob it on there. Just gob it on there. You really don't have a choice. You don't have to be super neat. It'll look good when we're done. But we got to gob it on. That's all there is to it. I've got a lot more. I went ahead and caked it in there, as you can see, try to get it as level as I could. It looks pretty good right now. And before it's over, I think what I'm going to do is put a flat washer on each one of these. I'm going to cement one. You know, this thing sits against the firewall real tight and everything, so it doesn't matter. You know, there's some cracks here. I'm going to have to stick some epoxy down in there. As you can see, this is raised up here, and I'm going to make sure I do that before I put those flat washers on. But I would recommend, if you have something similar to this, fix it up best you can and put those flat washers on. Let the bolts coming through the firewall, let them press on that flat washer instead of this brittle fiberglass. This stuff is really, really brittle. Be careful. We have made some progress on the gluing front. As you can see, this steel impregnated epoxy is unbelievable, like a rock. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's solid. So what we have to do now is I have to drill a hole with my drill. I need to get the hole. This is the right size. And we'll get them all drilled back out again. Then I'm going to have to take a washer and lay on it like that. Then I'll draw around the washer. You know, it doesn't have to be accurate. Just get around there as much as easy as I can. Then I'll go ahead and take my rotary tool with a sanding drum, and I'll get it sanded down as flat as I can without, you know, messing up the integrity again. I don't want that to happen. And I'll do that with all 4 corners. Then we'll go ahead and glue the lock washers in. Well, folks, the further I go in this car, the worse it gets. Now, I wanted to finish up this video by removing this cage right here. And you can see half of it's clogged up, and the other half is rusted terrible. Let me get a little close up here for you. Look how clogged up half of that is. And this one here, this is all rusted through practically. What this is, I believe, is the when you go to the recirculation position on your heat and air control on the front of the dash, it closes off the vent from the outside of the car, and it begins sucking air from inside the car through the fan and then blows it out. You're recirculating the inside air from the passenger compartment. And that thing is on there to keep papers and popcorn and, you know, all kinds of junk from being sucked up into the fan. That's all that's there for. Plus, you know, it's a protecting thing from a passenger's feet, I suppose. What a mess. Can you imagine what those poor guys on the assembly line went through? Anyway, until next time, this is John.